Fanfiction/speculative story. Genoa City woke beneath a strange silence on Monday morning. For most residents, it was simply the beginning of another week. Business meetings waited at Newman Enterprises. Family arguments were already brewing behind expensive doors. At Society, coffee cups were being filled and conversations were beginning. But for Nick Newman, Monday was anything but ordinary. He had spent the night fighting a battle nobody else could see. The memories came in fragments. His father, his children, Sharon, his mistakes. And then a face from his past appeared in the darkness. Matt Clark. Nick suddenly opened his eyes. He was breathing heavily, staring at the ceiling of his room. For several seconds, he didn't know where he was. Then reality returned. He was home. But the nightmare had felt painfully real. Nick sat up and rubbed his face. What is happening to me? He had no answer. Nick's nightmare. The dream returned without warning. Nick found himself standing in an empty version of Genoa City. The streets were deserted. There were no cars, no voices, no familiar faces, only silence. Then Matt Clark appeared. Nick stared at him. You? Matt smiled. You finally understand. Understand what? That every choice has a price. Nick stepped toward him. I don't need you telling me anything. Matt laughed quietly. You always say that. Suddenly, Nick saw Victor, then Nikki, then Victoria, then Adam. One by one, the people he loved appeared around him. Nobody spoke. Nick looked at them desperately. What do you want? Victor's voice finally broke the silence. Look at what you're becoming. Nick turned. The people around him seemed to disappear. He was alone again. Matt stepped closer. You think you can keep running from your problems? Nick shook his head. This isn't real. Maybe not, Matt replied. But your fear is. Nick suddenly woke again. This time the nightmare was over. Or so he thought. Nick faces reality. Nick walked into the living room. He looked exhausted. Nikki immediately noticed. Nick, I'm fine. Don't say that. Nick stopped. His mother studied him carefully. You don't look fine. Nick lowered his eyes. I didn't sleep. Another nightmare? Nick didn't answer. That was answer enough. Nikki moved closer. You don't have to go through this alone. Nick's voice became defensive. I said I'm fine. Nikki refused to back away. No, you're not. For a moment, Nick looked angry. Then the anger disappeared. I don't know what I'm doing anymore, Mom. Nikki reached for his hand. Then let someone help you. Nick stared at her. He wanted to believe her, but part of him was convinced he had already gone too far. Marie arrives in Genoa City elsewhere. A newcomer was arriving in Genoa City. Marie Kirkland stepped into town, carrying a small suitcase and a much bigger secret. She looked around. This is going to be interesting. Marie had no intention of being invisible. Her first stop was Society. She ordered a drink and quietly observed the room. She noticed people talking, couples arguing, business associates negotiating. And then she saw Nick. Something about him caught her attention immediately. Marie watched him from across the room. Nick didn't notice. He was too distracted. A moment later, Marie approached. Rough morning? Nick looked at her. Do I know you? No. Then why are you talking to me? Marie smiled. Because you look like someone who could use a conversation. Nick wasn't amused. You're very observant. I try to be. Nick turned away. Marie studied him. You don't have to tell me what's wrong. Nick glanced back. Good. But sometimes strangers are easier to talk to. Nick stared at her. For a moment, he considered leaving. Instead, he remained seated. That decision would soon create consequences neither of them expected. Sharon's concern. At Crimson Lights, Sharon was already dealing with her own worries. She had heard enough about Nick to know something was wrong. When she saw him later, she immediately confronted him. You've been avoiding everyone. Nick sighed. Sharon. No, don't. He looked at her. I'm not here to fight. Neither am I. Sharon's expression softened. I just want to know if you're okay. Nick hesitated. I don't know. That answer frightened her more than anything else. You need help. I know. Do you? Nick looked away. I said I know. Sharon became frustrated. You keep telling everyone you're fine, but you're not. Nick stood. I need some air. Sharon watched him leave. Her concern quickly turned into anger, not because she hated Nick, because she was afraid of losing him to his own choices. Victor gets involved at Newman Enterprises. Victor received a troubling update. Nikki had contacted him. Nick is struggling, she said. Victor's expression hardened. How badly? I don't know. Victor immediately became protective. I'll speak to him, Nikki warned him. Don't turn this into one of your battles. Victor frowned. This is my son. And that's exactly why you need to listen instead of command. Victor was silent. Nikki was right. For once, Victor couldn't solve the problem with money, influence, or intimidation. This was personal. Billy's secret. Meanwhile, Billy Abbott was hiding something. He had received a message early that morning. He read it twice, then deleted it. Sally noticed. What was that? Nothing. Billy smiled. Sally didn't believe him. You're terrible at lying. Billy sighed. There are things I need to handle. By yourself? Yes. Sally crossed her arms. That's usually when you get into trouble. Billy smiled. Probably. But Sally could tell something was bothering him. Billy's secret wasn't going to stay hidden for long. Kyle and Victoria across town. Kyle Abbott found himself thinking about Victoria Newman. He hadn't expected it. But lately, something had changed. Victoria seemed different to him, stronger, more vulnerable, more complicated. When they crossed paths, Kyle stopped. Victoria? Kyle. There was an awkward pause. How are things? Complicated. Kyle smiled. That's usually how things are in Genoa City. Victoria laughed softly. For a moment, neither spoke. Then Kyle said something unexpected. I've been seeing you differently lately. Victoria looked surprised. What does that mean? I don't know yet, she smiled. Then maybe you should figure it out. Kyle watched her walk away. He knew this could become dangerous, but he also knew he couldn't ignore what he was feeling. Nick hits rock bottom. Back at Nick's home, the nightmare returned, but this time Nick was awake. He stared at photographs of his family. He picked one up. His children were smiling. Nick whispered, I'm sorry. A knock came at the door. He opened it. Marie stood there. Nick looked confused. Why are you here? Marie smiled. I thought you might need someone to talk to. Nick frowned. How did you know where I lived? Marie didn't answer immediately. That silence changed everything. Nick's expression hardened. Who are you? Marie finally looked directly into his eyes. My name is Marie Kirkland. I know that. But you don't know why I'm here. Nick stared at her. Then tell me. Marie took a breath. I'm here because someone sent me. Nick's face changed. Who? Marie smiled mysteriously. That's the question, isn't it? Sharon discovers something at Crimson Lights. Sharon received an unexpected message. She read it. Her expression changed immediately. What? The message contained information about Nick. Sharon's first reaction was disbelief, then anger. She put down her phone. If this is true... She stopped herself. She didn't want to jump to conclusions, but something wasn't right. And Sharon knew she needed answers. Marie's secret. Nick refused to let Marie leave. You're going to explain this. Marie remained calm. You don't trust easily. Not anymore. Maybe that's why you're vulnerable. Nick stepped closer. What do you want from me? Nothing. Nobody comes into my house with mysterious information and wants nothing. Marie smiled. Fair point. She finally admitted that she knew people connected to Nick, but she refused to reveal everything. Nick became increasingly suspicious. You expect me to believe you? No. Then why are you here? Because someone thinks you're about to make a very dangerous mistake. Nick froze. Who? Marie looked toward the door. Someone you already know. Before Nick could respond, Marie walked away. Nikki confronts Nick. Nikki arrived moments later. She immediately noticed Nick's expression. What happened? Nick shook his head. Nothing. Nikki gave him a look. Don't do that. Nick sighed. There was a woman here. Who? Marie Kirkland. Nikki's face changed. You need to be careful. Nick stared at her. You know her? No. Then why are you worried? Because I know Genoa City. Nikki took his hand. People don't always appear by accident. Nick looked toward the door. For the first time, he wondered whether Marie's arrival was part of something much bigger. Victor makes a promise. Victor confronted Nick later. His son expected an argument. Instead, Victor surprised him. I'm not here to lecture you. Nick looked at him. Then why are you here? Because you're my son. Nick's eyes became emotional. I don't need you to fix this. I know. Victor paused. But I won't abandon you. Nick looked away. I've made a mess. Then we'll deal with the mess. Nick finally nodded. For once, father and son weren't fighting. They were simply standing together. Sharon's outrage. Sharon eventually learned that Marie had been around Nick. She confronted him. Why didn't you tell me? Nick became defensive. Because I knew you'd react like this. Like what? Angry. I am angry. Sharon's voice cracked. Because I'm worried about you. Nick softened. I know. No, you don't. She took a breath. You can't keep disappearing and expecting everyone to pretend nothing is happening. Nick nodded slowly. You're right. Sharon wasn't expecting that answer. Neither was Nick. The final twist night fell over Genoa City. Marie sat alone in a quiet room. She opened her phone. One message appeared. He's exactly where we wanted him. Marie stared at the screen. Then another message arrived. Phase 2 begins tomorrow. Marie smiled. Meanwhile, Nick stood at his window. He could feel something coming. He didn't know what it was. But for the first time, he understood that his nightmare might not have been just a nightmare. Across town, Sharon stared at her own phone. She had received a message from an unknown number. You need to know the truth about Nick. Sharon's eyes widened. Before she could reply, another message appeared. But once you know, everything changes. Sharon looked toward the window. The lights of Genoa City glittered outside. Somewhere in that city, someone was watching. Someone knew Nick's secrets. Someone knew Marie's secret. And someone was preparing to turn Genoa City upside down. The episode ended with Nick receiving one final message. He opened it. His face went completely pale. The message contained only 4 words. Matt was telling you. Nick dropped the phone. Cut to black.